Well, good morning. My name is Rocky Moretti. I'm the Director of Policy and Research with TRIP, a transportation nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. TRIP regularly puts out reports at the national and also at the state level looking at the latest data on the condition of our transportation system, including traffic safety and also levels of traffic congestion and the importance of the transportation system to local and state economies. We've done over 600 reports since TRIP was incorporated back in 1971, and we're supported by a coalition of manufacturing, insurance, construction, labor, and engineering organizations. Our new report, Keeping Louisiana Mobile, is based on analysis of the latest data, looking at the condition of the state's transportation system and also the use of that system, including vehicle travel and also traffic safety. Let me turn to the key findings of the report. TRIP's new report finds that the statewide cost of roads that are in rough condition are often congested and in some cases lack desirable roadway safety features is $9.9 billion annually. The TRIP report finds that in the Baton Rouge area, the cost to motorists of driving on roads that are deteriorated, congested, and sometimes lacking adequate roadway safety features is $3,530 annually. The TRIP report finds that for the average motorist in the Lafayette area of driving on roads in rough condition, roads that are congested, and roads that sometimes lack adequate roadway safety features is $2,622 annually. The TRIP report finds that the average cost annually to motorists in the New Orleans areas of roads that are congested, that are deteriorated, and in some cases lack adequate roadway safety features is $3,067 annually. The report finds that in the Shreveport area, the average annual cost to motorists of driving on roads that are in rough condition, that are deteriorated, and in some cases lack adequate roadway safety features is $2,749 annually. These costs include the cost of driving on rough roads, which increases stress on a vehicle and makes the vehicle deteriorate that much quickly and also increases the need for additional repairs. It's the value of lost time and wasted fuel due to traffic congestion, and also the economic cost of serious traffic crashes in which the lack of adequate roadway safety features were a contributing factor. TRIP's report also took a look at pavement conditions and here found that half of Louisiana's major roadways, whether they're locally or state maintained, have pavements in poor or mediocre condition, with 26% rated in poor condition and 24% rated in mediocre condition. In the Baton Rouge area, TRIP's report finds that 33% of major local or state maintained roadways are in poor condition and another 27% are rated in mediocre condition.
What are you watching?
The TRIP report found that in the Lafayette area, 43% of major local or state maintained roadways have pavements in poor condition and another 22% are rated in mediocre condition. The TRIP report found that in the New Orleans area, 33% of major roadways are rated in poor condition and another 22% are rated in mediocre condition. The TRIP report found that in the Shreveport area, 35% of major roadways, either locally or state maintained, have pavements in poor condition and another 25% are rated in mediocre condition. The TRIP report also took a look at bridges. The report found that 11% of bridges in the state of Louisiana are rated in poor condition and in need of immediate repair, and 50% are rated in fair condition. This doesn't imply that these bridges are unsafe to travel on. If they were, state or local transportation agencies would either close these bridges or restrict them to lighter weight vehicles. But clearly, these bridges are the backbone of a region's transportation system. It's vital that state and local governments stay ahead in terms of keeping these bridges open and in good condition. The TRIP report found that in the Baton Rouge area, 19% of the region's bridges are rated in poor condition and another 40% are rated in fair condition. The trip report found that in the Lafayette area, 8% of bridges are rated in poor condition and 49% are rated in fair condition. The trip report found that in the New Orleans area, 7% of the region's bridges are rated in poor condition and 41% are rated in fair condition. In the Shreveport area, the trip report found that 9% of the region's bridges are rated in poor condition and in need of immediate repair, and 54% are rated in fair condition. TRIP took a look at vehicle travel across the state and noted that during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a significant decline in travel across the state during the initial phase of the pandemic, but we've seen it steadily rising. And by 2024, vehicle travel was actually 9% higher than pre-COVID. So we've seen a significant return to travel in Louisiana. Certainly that's a good sign for the state's economy, but it also means additional congestion on the state's roadways. TRIP found that in the Baton Rouge area, that currently, as a result of traffic congestion, the average motorist is spending an additional 64 hours annually stuck in traffic and wasting an additional 30 gallons of fuel. The TRIP report found that in the Lafayette area, due to traffic congestion, the average motorist is spending an additional 32 hours annually stuck in traffic and wasting 18 gallons of fuel. The TRIP report found that in the New Orleans area, due to traffic congestion, the average motorist is spending an additional 52 hours annually stuck in traffic and wasting 30 gallons of fuel. The TRIP report found that in the Shreveport area, due to traffic congestion, the average motorist is spending an additional 32 hours annually stuck in traffic and wasting 21 gallons of fuel. The TRIP report also took a look at traffic fatalities in Louisiana and notes that over the last 5 years, or from 2019 to 2023, there were 4,234 traffic fatalities. We also note in the report that the rate of traffic fatalities in Louisiana is the 14th highest nationally. And we also noted that 23% of traffic fatalities in Louisiana over the 5-year period of 2018 to 2022 were either pedestrian and bicyclists. The U.S. Department of Transportation has put a comprehensive approach to significantly improving traffic safety on the nation's roadways, including Louisiana, which starts with the driver themselves, that certainly they need to be driving at appropriate speeds, not be impaired, and certainly not be distracted. But the Department of Transportation also puts a significant emphasis on the need to improve roadway safety features, from add-on strips to median barriers, to improving the design of intersections, to improving lighting. All of these have had a significant benefit to improving roadway safety, not only for motorists, but also for pedestrian and bicyclists. But it's critical that the state have adequate resources to go ahead and implement these roadway safety features that would be very helpful in improving traffic safety in Louisiana. Finally, the report notes that annually $590 billion worth of goods are being shipped in and out of Louisiana, the majority of them on trucks. And the report notes that by 2050, it's anticipated that the value of goods moved in and out of Louisiana will increase by 107%, and by weight by 75%. And so the state is very much reliant on its transportation system to go ahead and support the economy and quality of life in the state. And we saw in 2021 at the federal level a bipartisan federal transportation bill approved, which did increase funding for roads, highways, and transit in Louisiana by about 30%. But unfortunately, since that time, we've seen a 45% increase in inflation for highway construction. So certainly that has really taken a lot of the steam out of that additional funding in terms of moving forward with the projects that are critically needed in Louisiana to make the system safer, more reliable, and improve conditions. So I'm going to conclude there. We're going to hear from 3 speakers. I'll introduce them, and then we'll hear from our first one. We're going to be hearing from Will Green, who's the president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Then we'll hear from Adam Knapp, the CEO of the Leaders for Better Louisiana. And then we'll hear from Chris Landry, the president and CEO of the Louisiana Travel Association. Will, thanks for coming and participating in today's news conference.
Good morning, Rocky. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to Trip for the great work that y'all are doing. My name is Will Green. I'm the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. I'm thankful and honored to join you all today. At Lobby, we recognize what every business leader already knows, that a robust, modern transportation infrastructure is critical to our state's economic success. Across Louisiana, our members are leaders in a variety of sectors, from energy to manufacturing, commerce, logistics, and beyond. These are industries that depend on the ability to move people and goods quickly, efficiently, and safely. Our economy relies on this, and yet the Trip report confirms what we hear often from our members. A large portion of Louisiana's roadways are poor or are in deteriorating condition. Traffic congestion in cities like New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport cost both businesses and communities millions of dollars each year. Many of our bridges are structurally deficient, posing risks to safety and hindering the movement of freight across the state. This is not just a transportation issue. It's an economic development issue, it's a competitiveness issue, and it's a quality of life issue. I recently had a conversation with a member who had a key piece of structure to their project in Texas. They needed it moved into Louisiana. And because of the poor transportation system within our state, it cost them millions of dollars of delays in daily delays trying to get that piece moved across the state each day. That's not an uncommon story we hear from our members, and that's disappointing. Modern transportation networks are a magnet for business. They create jobs in the short term through construction and maintenance, and support long-term economic growth by helping existing companies expand and attract new industries to our state. States we compete with have recognized this. North Carolina, for example, has made significant investments in infrastructure guided by business-led coalitions that helped secure over $2.2 billion in funding from 2015 to 2020. They're now building towards Destination 2030, a long-term plan to ensure their infrastructure is ready for the economy of tomorrow. Louisiana must do the same. At Lobby, we're focused on the following priorities: efficiency, transparency, and accountability within our infrastructure system. Infrastructure investment. We're calling for a greater state-level commitment to preserving and maintaining existing roads and bridges, while also planning for strategic growth. Streamline project delivery, and then we need legislative support. We'll continue to work with lawmakers to ensure infrastructure is prioritized as the economic development driver that it is. When we invest in infrastructure, we're investing in a better Louisiana, one where businesses thrive, families spend less time in traffic, emergency responders have faster access, and workers can get to their jobs safely and reliably. Let's not be the state with the most potential. We've done that for too long. Let's be the state that delivers on it. Thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you to build a stronger, more connected Louisiana.
Thank you, Will. And we'll now hear from Adam.
Well, thank you, Rocky, and great to see you, Will and Chris, to be on the presentation with you. A few things that I think are important to highlight that we heard in the report, Rocky, that you just shared. One, it jumps off the page that Baton Rouge and New Orleans, lead the state in the cost for congestion at $1,600 per driver. I know for a resident of Baton Rouge, and I'm sure this is true for folks in New Orleans, we'd love to have $1,600 a year back in our pockets if we could get solutions to congestion underway. And for residents in Lafayette, the drivers lose anywhere around $1,000 a year, leading the state in this report for vehicle operating costs due to lack of infrastructure maintenance, primarily. Those are issues that I think are things that the legislature in Louisiana can and should take on this year. They come into town next week, and we think it's high time to really take these issues on, as Will described very well. What we have heard for many years is that it's going to take reforms to the Department of Transportation and Development before legislators will even consider voting to get adequate infrastructure funding that's necessary for Louisiana. That is really an opportunity this legislative session to take that issue on, and hopefully move to the next part of this process, which is really discussing how to fund the infrastructure needs of the state. Unfortunately, in November, there was a step back on some of the infrastructure funding movement that had occurred, where the vehicle sales tax dedication in Louisiana that had previously been funded was put on pause for some major projects and maintenance across the state. We really need to get back to a place where we're making substantial commitments to invest in our state's infrastructure. And I think that's really highlighted well by this report. Leaders for a Better Louisiana joined with PAR a couple of years ago during the campaign and election cycle to create an updated vision for infrastructure policy for Louisiana and reset Louisiana. You can find out more about our analysis on that website, but it joins with what Tripp has said in calling for solutions to this problem, pointing out the cost challenges we face as a state and the urgent need to invest in that infrastructure. Lastly, I'll add that economic development has been making incredible strides in Louisiana, including an announcement yesterday for CF Industries, before that for Hyundai Steel, and the major Meta announcement up in North Louisiana. All of these are ones that point to the opportunity for greater investment in Louisiana, but investment comes at a price if it leads to greater congestion for the communities that are benefiting from those investments, such as the Baton Rouge area. And so really the key factors for continuing to see that kind of opportunity are going to be hampered if we don't take on these issues to make sure our infrastructure and our roadways are really smooth flowing. So with that, thank you, Rocky, for having me on.
Thank you, Adam. And we'll now hear from Chris.
All right. Thank you all for having me. It's great to be alongside Will and Adam, two great ambassadors for our state. My name is Chris Landry. I'm the president and CEO of the Louisiana Travel Association. As we gather here, one important fact is clear. Maintaining Louisiana's roads is not just about infrastructure. It's about preserving and enhancing our state's vibrant tourism industry, which also happens to be Louisiana's fourth largest employer. Tourism is a key pillar in our state's economy, with millions of visitors each year coming to experience the unique culture, history, and natural beauty that Louisiana has to offer. From the historic streets of New Orleans to the scenic drives along the Atchafalaya Basin, our roads connect travelers to these extraordinary destinations. By investing in road maintenance, we ensure that our visitors have a seamless, enjoyable journey. Well-maintained roads not only improve safety, but also create an experience that encourages people to explore more of our state. Whether it's traveling to the heart of Cajun country or enjoying a drive along the Mississippi River, smooth, reliable roads are key to making these trips memorable. Furthermore, maintaining our roads means supporting local businesses. Tourists spend money in hotels, restaurants, and shops, and when they can travel easily and safely, they're more likely to stay longer and, more importantly, return in the future. Our state's roads are the lifeblood of the tourism experience, and by continuing to invest in them, we're investing in Louisiana's future, ensuring it remains a top destination for years to come. Thank you for your support as we work together to keep Louisiana open for exploration, adventure, and discovery.
Well, thank you. I'll now ask Carolyn, my colleague, to explain how we'll proceed with questions.
Thanks, Rocky, and thanks to all our speakers who joined us today. I'm Carolyn Kelly. I'm the Director of Communications for TRIP. At this point, we'll be able to have a brief Q&A with Rocky and our speakers who've joined us for today. The way that'll work is that those media on the call can use either the chat function via Zoom or the raise hand function to indicate that you'd like to ask a question. I'll then be able to elevate you to a panelist, and we'll be able to see and hear you, and you can ask your question live and ask any of the follow-ups. While we wait for some questions to come in, I'll also note that the full report that we're releasing today is available on TRIP's website right now. You can find that at tripnet, tripnet.org. We've also got some short videos with Rocky that have cover just the data for each of the urban areas for which we've got information in the report. So you can look for some B-roll there on the website as well. And we'll have a recording of this news conference up on our website by about 11:30 this morning. So with all that said, I do see a question from Melissa Moore. Melissa, I'll promote you to a panelist now. And then once you unmute your line, you'll be able to ask your question of the panelists. Melissa, you can unmute your line and go right ahead.
Hi, so my name is Joe Collins. I'm a reporter at WBRZ. I realize now that it's still signed in as my producer, Melissa, so I apologize about that. But I actually have a kind of a two-part question. For the data of the cost of deteriorated roads, traffic congestion, and crashes, and we kind of talked about the average. Was there like a specific timeline of years, for example, like 2019 to 2024, that this data was collected? And then during those years, was Baton Rouge always costing the most of those four cities to the average driver?
To sort of help you understand where the data came from, starting with pavement conditions, that's based on 2023. Every year, states are required for their state maintained, but also locally maintained system to go ahead and monitor pavement conditions on that entire system and provide that data to the Federal Highway Administration. So the data is from 2023. The safety data is also from 2023. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has essentially a multiplier that helps explain here are the economic costs of serious and fatal traffic crashes. And not getting into emotional costs or things that are really very difficult to measure, but just lost time, lost productivity, healthcare cost. And we take, based on an analysis that shows that the features of the roadways are contributing factor in about a third of those crashes, we then make an estimate. And then the congestion, Texas Transportation Institute evaluates, based on traffic counts and traffic volumes and the timing of those, how much congestion is occurring. And this data is based on vehicle miles of travel in 2024. So these are annual measurements based on the most recent data available. On the question of whether Baton Rouge was highest in previous reports, I'll just have to go take a look at that. I know we've been in contact, and so I'll look those numbers up and get back to you on that part. I just don't want to misspeak. That said, certainly Baton Rouge and New Orleans, as the state's largest urban areas, have also had the most significant challenges, particularly in terms of traffic congestion.
Thank you.
So we've also got a question from Andrew Wellman. Andrew, if you've been promoted to panelist, if you unmute your line, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Andrew Wellman. I'm an MMJ over at KSLA News 12 in Shreveport. My question was, did you guys happen to collect any road data as well in the Bossier area, as it is kind of adjacent to the Shreveport area as well? It's kind of and then with that, when was the collection period for the data in this area as well?
The data was from 2023, and the data is provided for an urban area. So although we identify it as Shreveport, it includes all of the surrounding suburban areas, and so specific to the additional location you mentioned, if it's largely considered part of the general Shreveport area, it would include those in this data.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, certainly.
I don't see any other questions at the moment. So Rocky, if there's anything else that you'd like to add, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, I just want to thank Will, Adam, and Chris for taking the time to provide some comments. We also will be very shortly, the recording of this news conference will be available up on our website. And for journalists, certainly myself and Carolyn will be available throughout the day. The other speakers, you can contact them individually if you have any further requests for an interview. So again, thanks everyone for participating, and I hope everybody has a safe, productive day. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Carolyn.